Well, hello YouTube, it's me Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Super Eyepatch Wolf reaction. How Mother 3 Breaks You. That sounds fun. Yeah, so after I watched what the internet did to Garfield and what the internet did to Undertale, I found out that, yeah, I actually rather like Super Eyepatch's Wolf stuff, and I want to watch more of it. So I've gone back through his stuff, and I found a bunch of videos that I'm going to react to because I just, from the thumbnail and titles, I like the look of them. And they're also not ones that are like overly dated. Like he has a few where he's like doing an overview of the year and stuff like that, and that's not really reaction material per se. Anyway, so as I said, How Mother 3 Breaks You. The Mother series. Wasn't Mother 2 the game that were released in North America as Earthbound? I think that's it, yeah. So I have no idea what happens in the first game. I have a very vague recollection of what happens in the second game, purely from just what I've heard from other videos. And I have no idea what happens in the third game either, so this is going to be a complete shock to me now, isn't it? But I'm always willing to learn, and that's what's important. So, as always, original is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner tab will be linking to my newest Let's Play video. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we? Really a tearjerker? I don't think I tear up that much, oh man. Just talking about Mother 3.
What you're looking at here is a
Heart-rending.
Japanese TV commercial for a 2006 video game. And even by Japanese advertisement standards, it is strange. Just a woman on camera crying. And this is how Nintendo chose to promote Mother 3. The long-awaited sequel to Mother 2, or Earthbound as it was known in the West.
I was right, okay,
a cute
good.
little JRPG that swapped out traditional Dungeons & Dragons for the Lynchian nightmare of American suburbia. It was fantastic, and it was ignored, at least in the US, where tepid critical and non-existent commercial reaction was a likely factor in Mother 3 never being officially translated. Even after a hellish production that lasted 10 years, seeing development switch platform no less than 3 different times, and at one stage even being officially cancelled before being revived for the Game Boy Advance. Mother 3 is a game that shouldn't, and in some ways still doesn't exist, which is a shame because it's also one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. Mother 3.
You're saying this after playing Undertale. Now, I know there's the whole thing with like the similarities between Earthbound and Mother and Undertale. I mean, what was it? I remember, didn't Toby Fox, didn't he get a start making music for Earthbound fan games? Like, I think he actually has a really popular Earthbound fan game like under his name before he even started Undertale, so.
3 is the kind of emotionally moving experience that makes, well, the kind of hyperbole in that last sentence difficult to avoid. To the point that, yeah, if I only had a 30-second TV spot to put across what this game is, I might just point a camera at a woman who's played it and let her experience speak for itself. Thankfully, though, we don't have 30 seconds. We have 43 minutes! Oh, God! But that is too long. Sometimes these videos, they get away from you.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be cutting this in half.
I want to use that time to ask, how does Mother 3 do this to people? And to me, that answer starts even before the game does. What I mean by this is that Mother 3 has the best goddamn name entry screen in existence. And I know that's hyperbole again, but watch how much storytelling happens here. See, you're not just entering your name here, but the names of your entire family. First we meet Lucas, who just from the way he peers into the darkness of the doghouse, we can tell is this shy, nervous kid. Next we meet Klaus, and just from the way he interacts with Lucas, we can tell is the more adventurous and outgoing of the two twins. Someone Lucas looks up to and literally falls over himself himself trying to keep up with. We meet the stoic and silent Flint, who watches over his two boys as they gently pull their mother, the
He's a literal
teenage
cowboy,
into frame. Flint steps aside to make room for her, and we get a portrait of just this really happy little family. And look at how much we've learned, not just about who these people are, but the different relationship dynamics that exist between them. I mean, seriously, if you can think of a name entry screen that does more for its game story than this, then please leave it in the comments, as well as your home address, so I can come to your house and fucking fight you! The name entry screen makes something else clear. This is a story about a family.
I thought there was going to be one more that was even in higher pitch.
Together. And the little moments that follow build on that. Like how you wake up as Lucas in your pajamas, but try and run outside, and Hinawa stops you before gently guiding you back upstairs to get changed. And it's subtle, but what I love about this moment is how it puts you in the place of Lucas, of this overexcited child who tried to do something silly like run outside in your pajamas. And when Hinawa stops
I've done that all the time.
It forces you to see her from Lucas's perspective as this gentle, caring, loving presence, protective of her sons. And it's a little moment, but it establishes the connection between the two beautifully. And same when you find Klaus doing just about the coolest older brother thing he could be doing, wrestling friendly dinosaurs. Him even helping you learn to fight in the tutorial battle with this little mole cricket, building on that feeling that Klaus is someone Lucas looks up to and learns things from. And it's like, god damn, every part of these characters' lives, it all just feels so cozy and wholesome.
It's absolutely adorable.
Unfortunately, it does not last. You take control of Flint, who's waiting for Hinawa and his sons to return from their grandfather's cabin. But something isn't right. People have seen massive mechanical ships in the skies above the village, and mysterious wildfires have been sending the once peaceful wildlife into violent frenzies. After Flint rescues a child from a burning building, he's approached by Isaac, who's just returned from the area where Hinawa and the boys were last seen. And he says this: "I heard what I think might have been screams." There's a subtlety to Isaac's words here. The creator of Mother 3 had to beg his programmers to implement a text system that would let him control the speed at which text appears on screen. And you can see how effective that is here. The slight pauses in between Isaac's words, making his speech feel slow and reluctant, conveying a subtle sense of dread, like he thinks there could be really something very wrong with Hinawa and the boys. And you feel it. You feel that fear as the entire village scrambles to find Flint's family. When finally, Klaus and Lucas are pulled from a river, shivering and cold, creating a brief moment of relief, and then it happens.
Where's the mother?
Flint is approached by Bronson, the village blacksmith, and he has something to say. "I picked up a giant Dragofang. It'll make a great weapon. I figured you could probably use it. As for the bad news, it's where I found the Dragofang. It was pierced through your wife's heart. Hinawa killed by a strange mechanical creature." The reluctant, childish way Bronson speaks here gives this moment a nearly delirious, absurdly cruel feel. But what really drives home the tragedy is the animation that follows. Mother 3 has an incredible amount of animation, particularly for a JRPG, and it gives even little moments a spectacle and emotion. And watch how beautifully Flint's anger and grief is conveyed here, the loss of his wife spiraling him into a frightening, delirious rage, even his own sons having to be shielded from his anger.
I will say this reminds me, the whole thing with like the text box and this really good like pixel animation and stuff like that, it reminds me of something I remember John Lasseter saying, like it was in the bonus features of like of a Pixar movie. I can't remember which. I think it might have been like Monsters Inc. But they were talking about how the art inspires the technology, and then the technology itself inspires the art again. When it works well, you get this like feedback loop of, the artist, i.e. the person creating the game, wants to do something, but the technological limits limit that. So then the programmer has to work on something that would allow the artist to do what he wants. But then when the artist gets new tools, he might find a way of doing something even new or even different with the new tools he got.
Till finally, Flint has to be knocked out.
How?
His final flicker of consciousness, the memory of the very last time he will ever see Hinawa, and she disappears from his life forever. This moment still really messes me up.
Oh.
The game having pulled you into this peaceful, gentle family life before ripping it apart in a way that feels so cruel and random and cold, emulating the way real-life tragedy often feels. And it's by doing that Mother 3 breaks you. Oh, no, wait, hang on. There's still like 23 hours left in this game. Oh, jeez!
Oh no, how's this going to go? Also, I just noticed the logo. It's like bark encasing metal? Okay.
So, yeah, everything we've talked about so far, this is all just like the first 2 hours of the game. And to fully talk about what Mother 3 is, we now need to talk about a piece of stationery. Wait, no, that sounds really stupid. The Hobonichi Journal is like the best fucking journal in existence. They're these really well-made daily diaries with all these really interesting little facts and pieces of information. And I love these things. Seriously, I own like 3 of them. And I mainly use them to write about my feelings at night because it helps me sleep. And this isn't even a sponsorship. I just think these things are really... I should have made this a sponsorship.
My favorite thing about Hobonichi journals, however, is that each day comes with this little quote, each one coming from an expert in their field, ranging from topics like daily living, what it is to be human in a modern society, and what it is to create. And it gives these books a kind of soul, like it was made by someone with a deep passion and curiosity for the world around them. That person being Shigesato Itoi. Itoi is one of those people where the more you learn about him, the more weird and fascinating his life becomes. He spent a lot of his early years alone, his parents mostly absent from his childhood, and grew up to become the top copywriter of 80s Japan, leading massive anti-war campaigns like this poster, which loosely translates as "You First, Mr. Prime Minister." He also voice acted the dad in My Neighbor Totoro, launched Hobonichi Inc., one of Japan's most profitable companies, made a social media app for pets, has been arrested 5 times for political protests, wrote several very strange children's books, as well as novels centering around his different conversations with neuroscientists, rakugo actors, and game designers. He's this dude with an endless hunger and fascination for the world.
What is that thing? Wait, no, is that like a... God, I'm forgetting. I've seen those in... I know they're from like Earthbound and Mother. I've seen them in Super Smash Brothers. I'm forgetting what they're called, but that's obviously like a super realistic version of whatever they are. The name is just escaping me at the moment.
Any of this matters to us today is he's also the creator of the Mother series. And what I think gives these games their soul is how you can feel Itoi as a person bleed into them, both in little mechanics like having to constantly call home to keep Nez from getting homesick in Earthbound, to that infinite passionate curiosity manifesting in the world design of Mother 3. And to show you what I mean here, let's talk about baths. As a man who, on occasion, will bathe multiple times a day, I think baths are great. The sensation of letting life's troubles melt away in the steamy comfort of a hot bath is a pleasure I value greatly. Which is why it makes me so happy that baths, or at least hot springs, are a big part of Mother 3, in that baths are how you recover your health and magic. Each bath having its own intricately designed little aesthetic, creating a unique look and atmosphere for each location.
Oh, lovely.
And that's an atmosphere where the game literally forces you to soak in, as if you want the healing effects, you'll have to stay in the bath for at least 6 seconds. And what I think's really interesting about this is how it creates this little moment of pause, not just for the characters, but you, the player, where you just sit back and experience these beautiful little environments. And it's subtle, but I think it's in this you can see the philosophy of Mother 3's world design. With a lot of modern games, there's a focus on feeding the player upgrades to motivate them to explore its world. And that's cool, but what I love about Mother 3 is how it does the same, except with experiences instead of upgrades. And to show you what I mean here, I want to talk about a moment that happens about 9 hours into the game. At this point, you've become very familiar with present boxes, basically Mother 3's take on treasure chests, which usually contain things like health items or equipments, but then this happens.
From the present. Oh, fireworks, okay.
And what's interesting is that this moment doesn't benefit you in any way. You get nothing new and your stats aren't better. All you got was the memory of this happening. And I can remember when I first played this game and thinking how odd this bit was. But years later, long after I'd forgotten what Lucas's strongest weapon was, I could still remember this moment. And I think that's kind of beautiful in itself, but it's little moments like this that make up the world of Mother 3. And sometimes these instances are really subtle. Sometimes
Who are those
it's just
guys?
the pleasure of experiencing these really weird or cool new environments, where everything from the pixel art to the sound design combine to create these really unique little atmospheres, even down to the distinctive sounds your feet make on different surfaces. And again,
Oh,
this
gotta
might
love
seem
it.
slight, but then
That's
when you get
good
to the
design
final
right
area
there.
of the game, listen to how footsteps are used to create a sense of finality and foreboding. Other times, these moments can just be really fucking weird, like an entire dungeon created from toilet stalls, where toilet signs fly off the wall and attack you, and each new stall is a gateway to a stranger, more nonsensical encounter. Or a church
For
that
big people.
acknowledges this is a video game and asks you for your real life name, in a way that definitely won't come back and be meaningful later, and that's the
You see, the whole thing is, if I came across this, I'd end up putting my real name in twice, because Lucas, that is my actual name. But the thing is, it's the European spelling with a K instead of a C, so I'd end up putting Lucas in twice.
the thing about Mother 3's world. It is fucking weird. It's filled with all
Paperman?
these bizarre little moments.
No,
that
Thin
run the gamut
Stanley!
From surreal to just hilarious. Like, there's a part later in the game where you have to drain a lake, and a scientist gives you a choice of 3 different chimera with which to do it. The Dry Guy, the Clay Brothers, or the Pump Chimera. The Pump Chimera being the very clearly correct choice. But pick one of the other 2 and you can watch them fail in these really stupid and hilarious animations. And I like this not just because it's funny, but because so much effort went into creating this weird little moment that a lot of people aren't even going to see, in a way that I think other games just wouldn't see the point of doing.
Oh, I gotta love it.
Went into bringing Mother 3's world to life, and one of the places you can really see this is Tazmily Village, home to Lucas and his family. And it's awesome how much subtle world building has gone into this peaceful, self-sufficient little community, like the jail which has never been used, or the fact that the concept of money doesn't even exist here. The villagers free to take whatever they want from the local bazaar, everyone pitching in and providing what they can. But where you can really see the depth of Tazmily is in its 56 residents, all of which have their own unique character sprite as well as expressive little animations.
56?
Each one with
Wow.
their own unique personality, home environments, and even connections to the other villagers, to the point that you
Man,
can actually
Fuel?
map out the different families and relationships that make up Tazmily. And you can even keep track
Wow.
of those villagers as their stories play out over the course of the game, meaning it's really easy to get invested in them if you pay attention, to the point that someone like Nana, the socially awkward town loner, have developed their own online fan communities despite the fact you could easily go the entire game without speaking to her. That's the awesome thing about Mother 3's world.
Again, online communities. There's a lot of love and hate, but you know, love.
It's rare you go more than 10 minutes without experiencing something new or funny or touching or weird. It is a world carved out of these beautiful little experiences. And what I love about Mother 3's battles is how they're an extension of that idea. Mechanically,
okay.
Mother
Whoa.
3's combat is sound. It's fun and frantic and tense thanks to the rolling health system, i.e. the system by which a death blow from an enemy won't actually kill your character instantly, but instead begin a countdown where death only comes once your health hits 0, meaning if you can heal them or end the battle before that point, they'll be okay. Creating some really tense split-second decision-making, especially in the game's punishing late-game boss encounters that force you to think about everything from how you use the limited inventory space of each character to the individual weaknesses of each opponent and how to exploit them.
You know, that whole like rolling health system, I'm surprised that you never really see it in any other video games. You know, I'm just gonna ask here, if you know any games that have that like rolling health system like the Mother series do, I mean, leave them in the comments. I actually want to like look more into this. It is a very cool like system. Wish it got more like use. And yes, this is the end to part 1 of my reaction to How Mother 3 Will Break You by Super Eyepatch Wolf. If you want to see part 2, just click the link on screen. Thank you.